Over 30 new subclasses and class options? 21 additional spells? Challenging puzzles to drive my PCs to the brink of insanity? I don't need this. You don't need this. We don't need this. Wait, did I just see a feat that grants you the ability to become a chef? Well, it's finally here. Probably the most controversial publication that Wizards of the Coast has ever printed, at least since Oko, Thief of Crowns. So, the day of its release, I immediately went down to my local gaming shop to pick up a copy, and even though they didn't have it in stock, I still bought something that I didn't really need, because you should always support local gaming shops. Don't be a dick by giving all of your hard-earned money to some mega corporate internet superstore. So as soon as I left the shop, I immediately went out to my car, and I ordered Tasha's Cauldron of Everything from Amazon. Tasha's Cauldron of Everything has been an eagerly anticipated drop, and even though I'm late to the review party, I think literally every single D&D YouTuber has already put their 2 cents in on this thing. I just couldn't help but spend a few minutes talking about it myself. So let's get into the meat of this meal by talking about my absolute favorite paragraph right here on the first page of content, where the authors take the time to remind us something that we already knew. You do not need this book. Everything contained in these pages is 100% entirely optional. And I love that. There's a lot to be said about the kind of people that spend their entire day's work on a project like this, and it's nice to see them openly admit that in the end, it doesn't even matter. It starts with... Having said that, I really do like what they've done here. For those of us who already have a shelf dedicated to D&D books that is continually growing, you already own some of the material that's printed in these pages. A lot of the spells and character options have already appeared in publications like Xanathar's Guide, Sword Coast Adventurers, Eberron, the Magic the Gathering World Companions, and for anybody who already has access to the internet, you've already been able to read a great deal of this stuff just by visiting the Unearthed Arcana at Wizards' website. I'm assuming that there had to be some kind of a discussion in some conference room at Wizards between the marketing team and the R&D department who decided it would be a great idea to generate revenue by printing a new book while also streamlining some information that's already been available in multiple publications. Surely this must excite the people who play in Adventurers League, who are restricted to using only the Player's Handbook and one additional source book for character building. And not only do you now have a new official guide for the Artificer class, but a ton of new subclasses for all the existing ones, including Psy Warrior and Genie Warlock? That's right, friends. Pact of the Genie. Oh, you ain't never had a friend like me. And whether it was intended or not, it is pretty sweet that they gave us ways to model our characters after some of the most badass heroes in the Marvel Universe. You could be an armorer artificer like Iron Man, or a soul knife rogue who manifests psychic blades from her fists, just like Psylocke of the X-Men. There's a barbarian who produces wild magic surges. That's pretty spicy. A clockwork soul sorcerer who can negate advantage or disadvantage on a creature's rolls, whether they're friend or foe, and that's just at first level. And a really nice section on how to style your fighter for particular warrior archetypes by mixing specific fighting styles with battle master maneuvers and feats. Admittedly, I am a little bit salty that they made Blade Singer a non-racial specific tradition for wizards. I mean, personally, I just enjoy the flavor of making it a practice exclusive to Elvenkind. Not to be taught to the Aethan. But I get it. The real world in which we live is not served better by reinforcing racial discrimination, so I can totally support this decision. But this is where the controversy starts. It's in the character creation section of this book. The issues are addressed regarding racial ability modifiers, proficiency limitations based on background, and even known languages and personality traits based on race. Essentially, what they're telling us here is that if you and your DM are in agreement, you can throw all of the previously published rules on character creation right out the frickin' window. In other words, you don't even need the Player's Handbook. That's a great idea for another video. Anyways, this whole concept has given internet trolls and strongly opinionated social media commentators a source for their relentless rage. People have been arguing about this for weeks already, and I really don't understand their pain and frustration. Sure, it may not make sense for your halfling to be 6 feet tall and have a 20 in strength, or a dwarf that doesn't actually even speak their own language. But part of the beauty of the world in which we live is that people come in all shapes, sizes, colors, and backgrounds. Why not express that same beauty in the fantasy world in which we sometimes live? Tasha's Cauldron of Everything isn't just giving us permission to do this. It's reminding us that we could have been doing this all along. And if you're playing with a DM who won't compromise by letting you bend the rules of character creation just a little bit for the sake of a more flavorful roleplay experience, then they're just being a total dickhead. Blast me in the comments if you don't agree. The first chapter concludes with a whole list of new feats, and boy does Wizards know how much we like our feats. Some of them give you bonuses for implementing its respective damage types, like slashers and piercers. Others grant you psychic abilities like telekinesis or telepathy. Nothing but good things can be said about adding a dash of flavor to your PC by adding a new feat, especially if you opt for the one that makes you a certified master of culinary arts.
Wow, look at that.
Yep. Chapter 2 of the book talks about patrons, factions, or individuals who influence your party. This could be like a shared religious order, or like an ancient being, a particular guild, or even a crime syndicate. One time I actually started a campaign by having all of the PCs attending this school for heroes and adventurers, which is a completely original idea that no one has ever done before. It was a great way to get the PCs motivated to take the first quest as soon as they graduated, and gave them an obvious reason to be working together since they'd already spent a chunk of their backstory building relationships together while they were at this school. There's a section in Tasha's where they talk about exactly that kind of patron as well. You're welcome for the inspiration, wizards. There's even a section about how to become your own patron, starting your own mega corporation or crime syndicate. Wait, are those the same thing? At any rate, this opens up a whole new set of challenges for your players. One of my very own most beloved playgroups let me join after they had already spent a number of sessions before I even got there amassing this incredible fortune through a series of dungeon delving. And we're now building this massive stronghold, a keep. They had an entire crew of construction workers and security personnel. They even had a foreman that reported progress to them on the build. One of our last adventures together was flying our Spelljammer to Baldur's Gate just so we could find the best armor to build ballistas for this thing. And then unexpected shenanigans ensued. You know how that goes. It was super fun envisioning the outcome of building this keep, and the only reason that we ended the campaign was because we were high-level characters and we were starting to behave like gods among men. So we opted out for a more challenging, low-level game, but I would still love to revisit that story. Hopefully the DM is watching this right now. Working with your players to establish a patron is a really fun way to add some spice to your adventures. Because as long as they're all in agreement, there's potential for your PCs to invest a whole lot more in the campaign itself, since there's something more than just treasure and loot at stake. Chapter 2 gets a thumbs up for me. Chapter 3 is the magic stuff. This is where Tasha gets to churn her double toil and trouble, and it's the inspiration for making her the spokesperson for this tome. The demon-dealing seductress of spellcraft, the Wicked Witch of Greyhawk, also known as Igwilv in some circles, and creator of the most hilarious first-level enchantment. The Archmage Natasha has already published a number of spells in the evil and infamous Demonicon, but the Cauldron of Everything is her contribution to the 5th edition and has received a mostly warm welcome. A total of 21 spells, though some are reprints, and official permission from the rules makers and breakers to personalize the cosmetic appearance of our magic when we cast it. Like I wasn't already doing that. No one ever said that Mage Hand had to be this blue ethereal appendage. It could be as cartoonish, phantasmal, or as realistic as your imagination can allow. Thanks for pointing out that when a druid casts Entangle, we can use the cherry blossom theme to make sure that it has pink petals, and that our fireballs could actually be like a cloud of red lightning. But if you're not already casting magic missiles in the shape of flying green chickens, I don't know what you're doing with your fantasy life. I really don't. No, seriously, that's in the book. The entire body of spells is composed mostly of new, but some old gems as well. A few of them truly do deserve honorable mentions, but some of them I feel like are just duds, really. Filler, I guess. You do get 9 different ways to summon creatures from other planes of existence, from Shadow Spawn and the Undead, to Celestials and Elementals. There's even a spell to summon constructs. So get your very own Bruiser Boy Golem on the field. Tasha is arguably one of the most powerful magic users in the multiverse, perhaps among the ranks of Mordenkainen and Elminster. Decades ago, she gave us one of the most debilitating spells with hideous laughter. And she continues to deliver with her caustic brew, mind whip, and otherworldly guise, which you can use to turn yourself into a winged angel or devil and wreak havoc upon your foes with extra magical weapon attacks. It's pretty sweet. The one that really stands out to me, though, is the one that's right here at the top of the spell list. Blade of Disaster. It's like a spiritual weapon that just drank a cocktail of liquid steroids spiked with methamphetamines blended with protein powder. Sure, it's a 9th level spell, but you can cast it as a bonus action, and you can use it to deliver as much as 144 points of force damage on a critical hit. Also, you auto-crit just by rolling an 18 or higher. Oh, and did I mention that you can attack twice every single subsequent round? And the little extra cherry on this chocolate sundae of pain? Blade of Disaster can harmlessly pass through any barrier, including a wall of force. You also get a reprint of some of our favorite cantrips, Booming Blade, Green Flame Blade. These spells are so good that I rarely see a frontline magic user that doesn't use these as their go-to attacks. You don't need this book to have access to those spells, but there they are. Right there. And I'm not going to talk about this next one that much because I could probably make a whole video about it. In fact, there's a good chance I will. Tasha's given us a 7th level spell that allows you to cut a portal of space and time so that you can enter into another plane of existence. Literally, you and your party can now just jump to another world. Some of the magic items are throwbacks to the early days of D&D, and bringing them back to life in the modern era is pretty rad, if you ask me. Teeth of Dalvernar. Step aside, Deck of Mini. We got a new table of random hijinks to play with. Okay, I get it. Nothing compares to Deck of Mini. The thing's freaking busted. But there are some super gnarly artifacts in here that you can just pull from the book, drop in your game, and watch the tomfoolery ensue. And I think we're all in agreement that magic tattoos was a pretty good idea. I did actually already toy with the idea of letting players use magical tattoos as their arcane focus. Foci? Focuses? Whatever. In this one campaign setting I was actually working on, magic was totally outlawed. And you know what? So was literacy. So wizards actually had to tattoo their spells on hidden parts of their body because they couldn't carry books. I'm definitely a fan of magical tattoos. What Tasha's done here is introduce a magical item in the form of a needle that when you attune to it, it turns into ink that attaches itself to your body, granting you all kinds of metaphysical abilities like resistance to certain damage types, a modified armor class, or a daily free casting of certain spells like Disguise Self. The ones listed in the book are already pretty cool, but what they actually do is more than that. They offer us inspiration points to create our own magical tattoos. I'm thinking about an uncommon one that goes on your hand like a henna tattoo and allows you to cast cantrips like Chill Touch and Firebolt. Maybe one that covers like the entire half of your face and your ear too, and allows you to comprehend languages at will. So you not only look tough as hell, but you know when some creature is mocking you in their native language. If you've got an idea for a magical tattoo, drop it in the comments below. I would love to see what you guys are coming up with. The last chapter of the book is specifically for DMs. We kick it off with an outline on how to run your own Session 0, which I cannot recommend highly enough. With every campaign that you start, not running a Session 0 to openly discuss expectations and house rules and character creation is a missed opportunity in my book. And now, it's in Tasha's. We also get expanded and concise rules on Sidekicks, which is pretty helpful. Admittedly, I totally overlooked this section when I started running Dragons of Icespire Peak for my little brother, so I made a couple of characters that I basically roleplay and then I let him control their turns during combat. Having now seen the tables and the suggested rules for Sidekicks, I really wish I had gone that route. For simplicity's sake, I might actually make the conversion. We also get some intriguing ways to introduce supernatural regions, like the Mirror Zone, and magical phenomena like Eldritch Storms, and the effects of eating magic mushrooms. Untold over the line, sweet Jesus. As well as some pretty concise rules on how to handle natural hazards like avalanches and falling into water. So now I have a guide on how to deal with the perfect swan dive versus a sloppy belly flop. There's some tables for monster encounters and how to how to parlay with them. And it all ends with 20 pages of puzzles to piss your PCs off. I've read through most of these and they seem pretty decent on paper, but I've heard from people that have actually simulated them that they're either too easy or too hard, which I guess is why we now get the option to roll for hint checks. I don't know, I like that they offer a section on puzzles, and it might be a great place to draw some ideas for different ways to challenge the brains of our players. But throwing this in at the end of the book just makes me think that they were like a little short on the 192 pages they needed to have it match the other guide to everything that we all love, so they gave the project to somebody just to fill the remainder. What I'd really love is a book that is filled with puzzles of varying challenge ratings. Surely someone in the fan world has done something like this. If you have a good resource, let me know in the comments. Wrapping this up, I will say that the art is stunning as always, but what drives me absolutely crazy is the offset ampersand on the spine. The book is good, but this is a total fail. A total epic fail. So that's my take on Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, available at most of the places where you buy your gaming supplies. I hope that you got some enjoyment out of this review, and if you decide you want to go out and buy a copy, just remember, you don't really need it, but it is nice to have. Hey guys, if you like this video and you want to stay up to date on future product reviews, or maybe you're looking for some ways to improve your roleplay, be sure and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. We have introductory improv classes happening every single week, so be sure to go to initiativeroles.com and you can see our event schedule. Hope to see you again, and thanks for watching.